Galimera, Galispera, Galinicta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. Our pre-season shows are in full swing, and tonight I have one of my absolute favorites with me for a series we'll be doing once a month next season. Squaddies, let's rock and roll. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Evening all, and welcome to our first episode of this season for Get Off The Pottsy. And joining me at Squad Central is one of my favourite gooners and humans overall, Dan Potts. At ease, welcome to Squad Central.
Listen, it's been too long, first of all, since I've been on. Big up to everybody in the chat, all you squaddies out there. Love the fact we brought this back. We kind of started with it and things got very busy, but I'm absolutely delighted that this is back and we can talk things football with the Arsenal. So big up to yourself as well. Great to speak to you.
Excellent stuff. And good evening to everyone who's joining us. I know that you guys are a little bit weirded out in terms of our show times, and we're picking things back up. So things are a little bit slow. Thanks to everyone who tuned in to Tom's show on Monday, Spend Stick Sell. It was really nice to be back, and you can go revisit that show as well. Tomorrow night, we go live with David Hillier, which will be awesome at 8 o'clock, Beyond the White Line, talking pre-season. And Tom kind of poo-pooed this one. Our podcaster of the week on Friday, Pottsy, is Lee Judges. I don't know who voted for that or how he wangled that.
I mean, like, is the title podcaster of the week and then with Lee Judges on it? I mean, he'll take that. Do you know what I'm saying? He'll say, that's me. I am the podcaster of the week. But fair play to him, man. Fair play to him.
You're always our podcaster of the week. And of course, next week, we start our Arsenal tour of America. Get ready. Dan, you'll love this one. Magic Mike's already been delivering shit to my house. So
Legend.
This morning, our gardener came, and after the gardener left, I opened the doors up and stuff. And I was like, what the heck are these chairs doing here? At my front door, a stack of chairs. And I went to Tony. I go, did you order some chairs? And she said, no. She goes, what the hell are they doing here? I said, I don't know. Maybe one of our neighbors is having a summer garden party and they've mistakenly delivered the chairs to our house. So then I go to check my phone, and all of a sudden I see, because I hadn't checked my WhatsApp messages yet, I had all these messages from Magic Mike saying, hey, Soph, is it okay if I deliver some stuff for the tailgate to your house? And then there's another message saying, whoops, I was hoping that you would say it was okay before they actually started getting delivered.
This guy, man, I tell you, this guy, you know the term, like, give someone an inch, they take a mile. That's normally seen in like a negative light. If there was any way that can be seen in a positive light, it'd be Mike Feinberg, man. Like, literally, that guy, he literally will do. If you say to him, I'm thinking about this, boom, it's done. And it's done like the best with 100% like commitment, 100 mile an hour. Top guy, man. Love him.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. So he's doing a tailgate. I think it's for the Arsenal Bournemouth game, raising money for Gooners v Cancer. We'll let you know all about that at the end of the week as well. Right, Dan, let's say good evening to Gooner Russ is here.
Good up, Russ.
Wesbird is here. Our Chief Like Officer Tammy, of course, is here. Rich is here. Alison is here. Trev is here. PW is here. Ryan, everyone's here. The whole fam jam. And again, once again, thanks to everyone listening on replay as well. Hi to you, Ian. And of course, how can we forget our Carol, Miss Melina, Seb, everyone. Right, let's get stuck into this. So the purpose of Get Off The Pottsy, if you followed the first season a couple of seasons ago, is that Dan and I picked this one for him because I know that a lot of you agree with Dan and a lot of you have disagreed with Dan. And it's funny, you know, even in the comment section with Tom yesterday, Dan, someone saying, you know, Tom just can't get his facts right. It's about opinions. And the beautiful thing about football, and Lee and Dan and I and Harry and Tom have talked about this ad nauseum. you know, it's lovely to debate and have different opinions, because if we all thought the same, life would be exceptionally boring. Dan and I were very much aligned at the beginning when it came to Mikel Arteta. And he still had his doubts here and there over the last 18 months. But to be fair to Dan, if you listen and listen carefully, yes, he has high expectations and he wants more, but he was hugely supportive of the team, hugely supportive of Mikel last season. Some of you don't like that he wants more and he pushes for more, but that's okay. So the purpose of Get Off the Pottsy is that we pick a subject. And tonight's subject for me, I wanted to know what Dan's top 5 non-negotiables were for the season. And I want you guys to join in as well. And I want everyone to comment in our comment section on YouTube too. So, and at the very end, he has a Get Off the Pottsy moment where he lets us know what he thinks about something. And again, you'll let us know if you agree with that. So, without further ado, 6 minutes in, we've done all the small talk. Super, as Kev used to call you, Super Dan. What say you? Where do you start? What is number 5 for you?
So I think there's a lot of the chat and a lot of the listeners that will agree with a lot of what I've said here. There's a lot of times that people will definitely have a comeback to it or believe that there's I've got nothing wrong with people having opinions. So if they can back it up, if they have something they believe in and they can back it up, I can get behind it. And for me, I think these are quite fair. And there's no denying that I've been harsh in the past. I've been extremely critical in the past. But this one at number 5 is about the now. And I'm looking at individuals away from Mikel Arteta, not just Mikel Arteta here. I'm looking at the likes of Edu. I'm looking at the likes of Josh Kroenke, Stan Kroenke. And number 5 is, do not leave us short again this window. This is the window that we 100% have to get correct, because we've come second best for 2 seasons and people thought that was a good season. The reason it wasn't a great season is because it wasn't a successful one. A successful season for me is when you're lifting something at the end of it. And I believe personally that we've been left short in the transfer window in most of, if not all of the transfer windows in the regime of Mikel Arteta and Edu, in the plan and regime of Josh Kroenke that has now come to the forefront, and Silent Stan really is Silent Stan because he's let his son take over. I don't think we've ever had a transfer window that I've gone, oh my God, we have literally got our squad completed here. There is no holes in this squad. Now, for those that don't believe that there is not holes in the squad still, we are going to be getting rid of players. And we are seeing Smith Rowe linked with moves away. We're seeing Kieran Tierney, Aaron Ramsdale, Tavares, Lokonga. We're probably going to have some rumours in the next coming weeks on Fabio Vieira, Thomas Partey. I think that players are going to be leaving, but what does that mean for the players that are coming in? And I think we need to allow for the bench to be very, very strong. So when I look at somebody getting injured, I need to have adequate cover. We're not going to get another Declan Rice come in for a Declan Rice if a Declan Rice is injured, right? If Saka's injured, you're not going to find another Saka to come and cover. But actually, the cover has not been adequate. The drop-off has been too much. And what we need right now is we need to have a bench that we look at and go, do you know what? It's a shame Saliba's not about for this one, but at least so-and-so's here. Our Saka's not about, but do you know what? At least he's coming onto the mix now. And when Saka's back, at least he can cover now. And I don't think we've had that. I don't think we've had that. When you're flinging on Eddie and Nketiah away to Bayern Munich, there's problems, Sophie. When he's coming on at Porto to try and win you the game, there's issues. And as much as I'm a fan of Reece Nelson, Mikel Arteta probably wasn't. So we need to have a look at that squad and that bench and go, God, we've got some real impact players there. We've got Trossard to bring on. We've got Tomiyasu, who's still there in the mix. Havertz and Jesus, they were in our first team not long ago. Now they're bench players and they're coming on. Martinelli is a really good outlet to bring on as a sub who was starting most of the time. And if we can get to that stage, instead of saying, Vieira might have to come on now, we'll probably have to fling on Eddie and Reece Nelson. That is what we can't do, man. So we need to not be left short. I don't want that window to shut, Sophie, and we go, blimey, yeah, weren't bad, but Saka better not get injured and Saliba better not, because we ain't got anyone. So that's why at number 5, I'm saying do not leave us short. And that is going towards Edu and Josh Kroenke more than Arteta.
Yeah, because as much as Mikel can scream and shout about who he wants. It's down to them to make those signings happen. And I think you talk a lot of sense. And it's funny because I was talking to Tom on Monday night, and I said to him, what I think we need, because I think defensively, if Calafiori comes in and you've got Timber back firing on all cylinders, Tomiyasu can stay fit, Zinchenko can stay fit, you've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel, you've got Benjamin White. There's a lot going there. The midfield for sure, if Thomas Partey does leave, and I know that there are a lot of Arsenal fans that don't believe in him anymore, but I don't think that he's lost all of the gas in the tank. I still think there's a player there, but is
100%.
there enough to drag you over the line for an entire season? For me, I would like to see, season on season, we've built the Arsenal slowly, right? I think the real transfer incomings kicked off when in the Ramsdale, in the Tomiyasu and White window. What we've done so poorly is selling players at bargain prices, right? But I said to Tom, I said, I think we need a Rice type signing. I'm not saying he has to be 100 million, but a move the needle signing up front. If you want to catch Manchester City, and that's the barometer, and Chelsea is still, in an evolutionary situation. Manchester United the same. You don't know about Ten Hag and how he's going to be. Chelsea have a new manager. Yes, he's proven at certain levels, but it's totally different when you're managing Chelsea. You've got Liverpool with a brand new manager. How's Ange going to be at Tottenham? They've just got a cultural issue when it comes to getting themselves over any line. I feel this is maybe the last season where we could be the only ones challenging Manchester City. And therefore, to get us over the line, and I know I said myself, and maybe I'm just kind of being hypocritical here, when you're getting a lot of goals from Saka and Odegaard, X, Y, and Z, and Havertz, and they amount to a lot collectively. I think the difference to catch them this season is to have a prolific goal scorer. And I've gone a roundabout way in saying, for me, like, my number 5 is you've got to get a striker. You have to have, I think this reliance on Kai Havertz, who was fantastic from January onwards, it's a lot to ask and wish for because of injuries, etc. You can't rely on Eddie, like you said. You don't trust Reece Nelson anymore, who's not going to get you goals. He's on the bench and he plays on the flanks anyway. Who is going to be that player for you? Jesus he brings people together. He's not a prolific goal scorer, although I think he could have a massive season. I think we need a striker. And do you agree, Dan, that it's maybe the last season where people will say, I still only see Arsenal being the closest thing to Manchester City?
The reason that everyone sees Arsenal as the closest is not just because Arsenal have proved for 2 seasons they can get into a title race. It's because the other teams around us really are the unknown. We have the unknown of Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham and how much he can improve on where he got last season. We have the unknown of Newcastle and who they're going to keep and buy and how they're going to progress towards Champions League football. We have the unknown of Unai Emery and whether he can go again with Champions League football to get top 4. We have the unknown of Chelsea. What is he going to be like, Enzo Maresca? What are Manchester United going to be like under this new structure? What are Liverpool going to be like under Arne Slot? All these questions are the unknown. So that's why everybody is looking at Manchester City going, we know they're going to be title contenders with Pep, and we know Arsenal are going to be with Arteta. Everybody else has a question mark around them. And that, for me, means that we have to do it. And listen, if Pep goes after this season, I want to win this season even more. The last thing I want, Soph, is to win that title when Pep Guardiola leaves. Oh, well, Arsenal only did it because Pep went. I want to win it this season when Pep's here. So that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think it would be because you know what the narrative is going to be if we win it the season after Pep goes. Oh, they only won it because Pep Guardiola wasn't manager at Manchester City, which is just is how many championships did Klopp win? And he's supposedly one of the greatest ever Premier League managers. All right, what have you got next for us, Dan?
Well, listen, at number 4, I said at number 5 that I was aiming this towards the Edus and the Cronkies of this world. Number 4 is I'm aiming this at the fan base. And when you say that, everyone goes, "Oh my God, wow! Don't aim something at me. You're supposed to be your friend, and you support the same club as you." So this is not seen in a negative light, or I hope it's not. I want us to demand silverware this season. That doesn't mean that we have to win the Champions League or we have to win the Premier League. It means we have to win something, and we have to be doing something like that at the end of the season with the squad that he's put together and spent £600 million on. And it will probably be closer to £800 million by the time this window's done, if we get a good window like we're expecting, right? So when you've spent £800 million and had all the backing in the world and all the time and patience from a fan base that are really wanting and willing you to do well, you have to deliver, and you have to start delivering now. I want this to be a no more process, no more phases, no more buying more win the dogs. Let's actually go and win something instead of buying pets and calling them win, right? Let's actually get together as a fan base and demand more and raise the standards of the football club, because this is an unbelievable football club, Soph. It's the third biggest club in England. We need to win silverware, and it's no more phases, process, excuses. The process is done. Yeah, we are now competing. Now get across the line. And that's where the pressure is at with Mikel Arteta. Now, I expect the bare minimum to be a title race, but I expect to win something with it. So that if we fall short of the last hurdle again, or with a couple of games to go, that at least we've got an FA Cup to show for it. Or at least, may I dream, we've got a Champions League, and the title, losing the title is a little bit less sour. So for me, I need to be looking at silverware this season. And I think the fan base have a right to demand that. I don't think we can sit there and go, well, we haven't won anything again because Man City are too good. None of this Pep is too good rubbish, yeah? Because Pep didn't win the League Cup last season. Pep didn't win the FA Cup last season. Pep didn't win the Champions League last season. And if Pep's so good and he's taken all of our trophies away from us, did Pep win the Europa League when Arsenal were in it 3 years running? Or did we fail at that? And this is where we need to look at is, are Arsenal failing, or is Pep Guardiola the reason we're not winning? And I don't agree that Pep Guardiola is the reason that Arsenal aren't winning. I can't have that. I can definitely agree that he's the best manager in the world and probably one of the best I've ever seen. That's for sure. I can definitely agree that it's hard to win and beat him. That's for sure. But we did take 4 points off of him last season, right? So let's take the positives with it and believe we can beat Pep and get across the line. And if we can't do that, we have to have a trophy for me.
Ooh, nice. And listen, I also agree with you that we need to demand more as a fan base, respectfully, of course. Number 4 for Dan Potts, demand silverware, no more process. And one of my sayings last season, Dan, was, we've gone process to progress, because I do believe that the last season and prior were definite progress. We got back into the Champions League. We got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League. But now the training wheels really super duper have to come off. And you've got to go process, progress, success. And for me as well, number 4, no more excuses. Now, I'm not saying anyone needs to be fired, but the expectations should be high. You should aim high. We all want to aim high in our lives, right? Everyone wants to stay at the Four Seasons. No one wants to stay at the roadside motel. Arsenal should be shooting, to be celebrating at the end of the season with silverware. And I'm not a snob. I like the domestic trophies. The Premier League is very tough to win, but no more excuses. And my no more excuses, Dan, also is don't blame VAR. Don't blame bad oppositions like doing, gamesmanship. Don't blame this. Don't blame anything. We've had and could have been Premier League champions the last 2 seasons, and we didn't close. And one of my favorite sayings is from Glengarry Glen Ross, always be closing. So for me, there's definitely no room for any excuses this season. I'll keep putting your comments up as well. You're listening here to the Highbury Squad. We got Dan Potts, Get Off The Pottsy. Number 3, Pottsy, what you got?
So Edu and the Cronkies were number 5. The fan base were number 4. The next 3 are actually going to be the manager. And people might go, oh, typical, Dan's having to go at the manager. This is me having to go at the manager. This is me giving my non-negotiables, as is the topic tonight, right? He's given his. These are mine. At number 3, don't fix what's not broken. Yeah. And what I mean by that is don't change a system or a formation that has been working. Because the 2 games that I saw that disappointed me probably in a period of time where it was the most important of last season was Bayern Munich and Aston Villa. And he decided to drop Kai Havertz for no reason back into the midfield. And we lost both the games and we went out of the Champions League and lost the Premier League title. And I think everybody kind of knew but didn't want to say it. I felt that I just put it out there and said it. There was only Curtis Shaw that said it as well. we both said it's done. We have lost the title. And everyone said, you're kidding. There's still 5-6 games to go. But we had, hadn't we? We'd lost it. We knew we had, because Manchester City don't lose in the last February, March, April, May of the season. So when a system is working and when you believe it to be working, trust yourself more to keep with it. Because I have no doubts that if Havertz would have actually played up top in the game against Aston Villa, in the games against Bayern Munich, I don't have any in hindsight to know that whether we were gone through or won that game. I have no idea. So we could have still lost them. Absolutely. But you could have then at least said, well, he didn't change anything or try and make any crazy decisions for the reasons as to why we've lost that. So for me, nobody understood why he did that against Aston Villa and Bayern Munich. He will only know. Only he will be aware of why that happened. Now, listen, Trossard missed a sitter. We could have been 1 or 2-0 up. Havertz missed a sitter. We could have been 2-0 up against Aston Villa. In the first leg at Bayern Munich, likewise, we could have been ahead, but we weren't. So it will always go down to why weren't we? And you can only look at, well, what changed? Well, actually, the manager changed it. Why did he? Because we were winning. So I think he needs to have a little bit more faith in it and don't change things if it's going well. If things are going right, don't change it. There was a scenario where we come back from Dubai and Havertz and Trossard were kind of linking up with each other really, really well, right? We didn't need to change it, and we decided to. And that is my kind of calling for him is believe, have faith. If it's working, don't try and change it. Just leave it.
I didn't have, you talk about non-negotiables. I didn't really have a lot of unforgivables last season
Yeah.
because I thought that Mikel Arteta had a great season. I thought the team had a great season. If only we could have bridged the gap, and one of the squaddies said it in earlier. The goal was to get points off City, beat them once, get a point, beat Liverpool, get a point, and we did that. But then we had terrible games against Fulham, against West Ham, and 6 points lost against Aston Villa, you know, the guy that he replaced. I found the Havertz shifting when it was going so well and he was, you know, at the top of his game, really, with the best we'd seen Havertz since his Leverkusen days, and maybe scoring the winning goal in the Champions League. I found that unforgivable. And what scares me sometimes with Mikel, he's got that Pep Guardiola chip where he thinks he's so clever that he just puts square pegs in round holes because he's kind of got that genius chip about him. So totally agree with you. Don't fix the unbroken. It's not necessary at all. And I just feel like sometimes he's not going to be able to help himself because he's always looking for that extra edge, Mikel Dan. You know, he's always looking for that next inch. And it's millimeters these days as well in order to win in football games.
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, Sammy made a great point actually at the start of the season where Gabriel was dropped and Partey was put at right back. Nobody quite worked that one out. And then it changed completely again. So I think he needs to understand in pre-season from the off what we're doing. I don't want to be seeing anything really strange at the start of the season. When we line up against Wolves, I want everyone to go, Carl, that is the 11 I want to be seeing. Now, we might not have that maybe at Wolves because of the Euros, but what I'm saying is when everybody's fit, we look at the team and we understand it and we go, yeah, I get this. I understand what's happening. Not this, what the hell was he playing at right back for again, Partey? Or why is he starting with Trossard in the middle now and Havertz in the 8? What's going on here? I don't want to be seeing any of that, you know. I want it all to make sense with the fan base and there to be a telepathy with both the fan base and the manager, because there has been in terms of the support and the fact that we'll get behind you. I think there's a huge amount of the fan base, 80, maybe even close to 90%, that are currently backing what is happening, I would say. There's still the minority, and at times I've been in part of that, where I don't quite understand it at times. But I think the majority of people will sit there in the Emirates, particularly the Emirates, and get behind it. So I feel like it's a one for Arteta, that one, and just trust yourself and you know, don't change it if it's working.
And it's going to get harder, you know. I think a lot of fans have these expectations too that, oh, you know, 2 seasons ago we almost did it. Last season we almost did it. Nothing's guaranteed in football. This is, you know, you have great players Look at us in 2006. We've never been back. You'd have thought that Invincibles team would have won multiple titles, got back to Champions League finals. It just doesn't happen. Sports is very difficult, competing at the highest level when everybody else is improving as well season on season, even though sports is cyclical and it's our time now. We've got to capitalize on that time. All right, what have you got for me at number 2, Pottsy?
Number 2, this is highlighted again towards the manager. Trust your squad. I don't want any of our games playing 40 or 50 games this coming season. And when I say trust your squad, I don't mean, get behind them and, have that comes with a manager. He's good at man management, Mikel Arteta. I'll give him that. And I think there's been question marks over particular players at times, but I think as a whole, he's been pretty good. What I mean by trust your squad is when you have Fabio Vieira for £35 million and you no longer trust him, what's going on? Question mark. Why are we not seeing Reece Nelson? Why are we not seeing Smith Rowe? Why are we not seeing Eddie Nketiah? Why are we not seeing Fabio Vieira? Because what you're doing is you're saying, I don't trust those 5 anymore. I'm going to leave them on the bench. We're never going to see them. They're just going to be there for decoration. We're going to play these guys for 40 or 50 games. So this is kind of linked with the first one, really. Don't leave us short. Because if you're bringing the players in, you need to be able to trust them to be a part of your squad. Because Manchester City do that, and that's who we're coming up against. Manchester City use Doku, they use Mateus Nunes, they use Kovacic, they use Jack Grealish, they use Akanji, they use Julian Alvarez. Most of those players I've named, which is 6 or 7 there, played for probably 20 to 25 games this season. I don't think our players did that. How many games did Reece Nelson actually play? Smith Rowe. How many games did players like Cedric and Elneny play? Yeah. Now you laugh because they're not good enough, but the Cedric and Elneny is the equivalent of Kovacic and Akanji at Man City. So that's why the first point is don't leave us short. This one at number 2 is trust your squad and use them, because Saliba and Gabriel played far too many minutes last season. Saka played far too many minutes last season. We are talking about players that we see as very durable, but they are going to break at one stage. And I need to see Ben White, who's durable, Erdegaard, durable, Rice, durable, Saka, Gabriel, Saliba, all these guys are very durable. Havertz, another one, very durable. They can play 40 or 50 games, but it ain't healthy for them. They ain't going to be able to do that at the age of 27 if they carry on. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Arteta's muse, my gaffer is ruthless, turn up or be gone. I like his ruthlessness. You've got to be ruthless in sports in order to win. With that said, he's very unforgiving. We can all have a bad day at the office and, mostly you don't lose your job or get a written warning if you have one bad day at the office. An example, I don't know why Reece Nelson didn't get more minutes last year. I really don't. And you'd have thought, kind of being the super sub that he was at times, he would have been given. The trusting part is massive, Dan. Totally agree with you 100% on this. It's a huge deal to be able to trust your players to go out there. And there's been times where he's had certain people on the bench, like you say, and he's not even willing to throw caution to the wind in order to try and get a result. He'd rather exhaust the avenue of the 11 players than play those on the bench. The other thing too is, take Kivior, for example. He had a horrific game against Bayern Munich. Prior to that game against Bayern Munich, Kivior was doing really well in the league. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans may say, but look who we were playing, Soph. And yes, partly that is true. However, he had to come in to a team where most Arsenal fans were screaming for Zinchenko not to play. And, he started Kivior against Bayern Munich. Now, I also think Mikel needs to understand and read the temperature in the room. Kivior may have been great against those teams, but really he hadn't played at that level, with that intensity, whereas Zinchenko had. And I do believe at that point Zinchenko was back from injury and available to play. And as badly as some fans think Zinchenko, I think, became too much of a dartboard last season. I think you can point the finger at a lot of different players for making mistakes or not stepping up in certain moments over the last 2 seasons. And he should have played Zinchenko against Bayern Munich in a quarterfinal of the Champions League. The dude has been there not only at international level, but also for Manchester City many times. So I think he also needs to read the room in his choices. Trust actually your more experienced players, and also trust the player even if he's let you down in a game. Do you agree or disagree with that, Dan, that he
I
quickly
totally agree.
discards players who have a bad game?
I totally agree with that, and that's where I said earlier that I have concerns over some of the individuals man manages, because we've seen it previously with players that don't even belong here anymore. We saw it with Pepe, how different he was in man managing him to Xhaka when both the same thing had happened. Xhaka grabbed someone round the throat. Pepe put his head up against someone. They both got a red card. One of them was said, "Oh well, he's just a little bit passionate." The other was slandered and told to get out of the club. So you've got to be consistent. And also, when you look at it, I could understand, for example, let's use Pepe, right? Let's say Pepe was still here. I could understand why he was not trusting him. He's not my signing. He's not really my player. I don't really like the guy, so I'm not going to bring him on the bench. But he's doing that with Fabio Vieira. Who signed him? Who signed Fabio Vieira for £38 million? Mikel Arteta. Who kept Reece Nelson and put him on 100k a week? Mikel Arteta. Who kept Eddie Nketiah and put him on 100k a week and give him the number 14 shirt? Mikel Arteta. So why are you not trusting these, my bro? Because this is what your decision making is. And now you're deciding, ain't really for me, these players, but you were the one who kept them. You were the one who put them on long-term deals. You were the one who signed them for £35 million instead of a James Maddison for 40 million or a Kudus for 40 million. Fabio Vieira cost the same amount as those players. So I can't get behind those decisions. And for me, I need to be seeing trust in this team. Now, for example, if we go and buy a Nico Williams, which would be a dream, I think, then he's not going to not trust him, right? But if he goes and buys this Mikel Merino, who we don't know too much about, or Zubamendi, he's going to have to put 100% faith in them players. None of this, not too sure about these. Let's see how they go. We're not at that stage anymore, Soph. We're at the stage of these players are coming in and they're going to make it better, like Declan Rice has. And that's what we've got to get to, man.
That's the quality I'm talking about, is have that Declan Rice signing. By the way, I thought Zubimendi was absolutely sensational in the second half of
Yeah,
the
it was.
Euro final. For me, Rodri is the best player in the world, hands down. I said that on Monday's show. But Zubimendi to come in and fill those boots, he actually had a better second half than Rodri did in the first half, which is an unusual for any player to supersede Rodri and what he does in a game for club or country. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to see how this plays out. What we know and what we've learned is our players do seem gassed by the end of the season, and we can't have that. And my number 2 was rest Saka. You know, once again, think about how much football, you said it earlier at the top of the show, how much football this young man has played. I would also like, one of my non-negotiables is to stop calling him Star Boy. Apparently, he doesn't even like it either. If we can start calling him Star Man, that would be nice. Thank you very much, everybody. He's played a lot of football for England, for Arsenal. He's gassed. They all look gassed. Rice, and I was saying as well that US fans aren't going to see Saliba. They're not going to see Declan Rice. They're not going to see Saka. Three of our, the backbone of the team. If you go back to front. So I think he needs to find a way to rest Saka. That for me is because there was a period in that those Bayern Munich games, Dan, before the last maybe couple of the season where Saka looked he didn't have anything left to give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
And he's not the only one as well. I think Declan Rice, I think it's the durable ones again. It's the Erdegaard. I mean, Erdegaard's the one that is mad for me. I mean, the work rate of the guy is sensational. And you see him playing 40, 50 games a season, and he's still running around like he's only played 15. He's been phenomenal. But with Saka, I think that people, love to get on his back. The rival clubs like to point the finger and say, oh, look, Palmer's better. And look, he's not actually that great. And he's well overrated. The kid's playing 40 games a season, and he's the age of 22. And he's been going from, 17 to 22 now? Pretty much every season consistently. People need to get off his back. I was so glad he had a good tournament, Soph. I was so glad he was better than Foden. I was so glad that he was better than Bellingham. And I was so glad that he was better than Kane. Because when people were saying to start with, oh, we need to drop Saka, put Cole Palmer in. Now, listen, I've got nothing against Cole Palmer. I think he's a quality player. But really, if we would have dropped Saka, we would have been out the tournament against Switzerland, you absolute fools. What are you talking about? Like, this kid deserves a hell of a lot more credit than he gets, man. But you're right. He needs a rest, 100%.
Yeah. And, seeing as we're on the subject, I totally concur with you. Every single time now he steps up to take a penalty for anyone,
Mm,
I hide behind the sofa.
mhm.
The balls this
Yeah,
man has to be taking those kinds of high pressure situations on his shoulders the way he does is unbelievable. And I totally concur. You see, one of the things that was an argument throughout the Premier League season was Foden versus Saka. They love to
man.
pit them against each other. Foden was sensational, but so was Saka. And apparently there was a period in last season where Saka really wasn't playing well. I was one of those people that actually said, "Man, he's not really reached his potential." And look at his stats. It's
Yeah.
insane. The expectations for him are way high. If
Do you know what's
if
mad?
I'm
Go on. No,
Go
go on.
on. No, I
No, I
was
was
just
going to
gonna
say,
finish by saying the New England manager coming in, Saka would be my captain. I think he's that
wow,
ready at that level to handle that spotlight. Go on.
wow. Listen, I love it, and what you're saying. And for me, people made the excuse. Foden didn't have a good tournament. Now, that doesn't mean Foden's not a good player. I think Foden's ridiculously good, mate. I think he's unreal, right? First of all, the Foden or Saka debate is bizarre because they don't play in the same position. If you want to compare Foden and Bellingham, go for it. Be my guest. But why are we comparing a right winger with a central attacking midfielder?
Mhm.
That's one thing I've never understood. And people said the reason Foden's having a bad tournament is because he's stuck out on the left. Well, Saka's basically said, "Where do you want me, boss? I want you at left wing back today. Cool, no problem. Where do you want me, boss? I want you at left back today. Cool, no problem. Where do you want me? I'll play your right wing back this time. Okay, cool. Now you're going right wing." So this guy's played for England in a tournament of 7 games, and he's played 4 different positions. And people are complaining because Foden's been stuck out on the left. That's enough
Mm.
for me to say how good this
Mhm.
kid is, man.
Yeah, no. Top points. Brilliant stuff. All right. We have been rolling down to number 1. Get off the Potsy.
Hmm.
Top 5 non-negotiables for the Arsenal. Number 5, don't leave us short. Uh, hopefully they'll pull off some. Now the tournaments are over, Copa America and the Euros. I'm expecting some type of movement to keep us competitive and in the game. Number 4 for Dan, demand silverware fans. No more process. That one was aimed. I was not going to say aimed at you guys, but he's imploring you to ask for more and demand more. Number 3, don't fix what isn't broken. In particular, Dan highlighted Havertz being shifted out from the number 9 role back into midfield for the Villa and Munich games. And at number 2, trust your squad. Don't stick to the same 11. You've got to trust your bench or bring in players that you can trust. And Dan Potts, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is one that I want to put in capital letters and scream off the rooftops. If I'm honest with you, and I hope that everybody will agree with this. Take domestic cups seriously. Stop throwing them in the bin. Yeah. Because for the last 4 seasons since we won the FA Cup, we've been nowhere near. And I can understand that you have priorities of winning leagues and Champions Leagues ahead of the FA Cup and the League Cup. But let's not dump them in the bin and see them as not as important anymore. Now, I'm not saying that Mikel Arteta does want to come out of these competitions before people start jumping on me. But what I will say is he's definitely not taken them seriously. There's nobody that can believe that we have put a side out that's been good enough to go through every single cup competition since we've been out of them. I'm not denying we've had hard draws. In fact, in the last 2 seasons in the FA Cup, the first team we've had out the hat was Liverpool last year and Man City the season before. Difficult games, but don't put poor sides up against them. When you get West Ham in the Carabao Cup like last season, believe you can go there and win. Don't put out a team, go 3-0 down, and then bring on Rice, Saka, Erdegaard, and Martinelli. Game's done, mate. We're out. What's the point of resting them? You might as well start them and take them off. So for me, you have to be more serious in those competitions. Because for me, Soph, it breeds confidence winning. And that is the first trophy you can win, the League Cup. Take it seriously. We've got 14 FA Cups and we brag about it. And for the last 4 years, we've been dumping them in the bin. Why? Now, you can say that we could have had easier draws. I agree with that. Liverpool, Man City was difficult. But the 2 before that, we lost to Southampton and Nottingham Forest. No excuses. We cannot be going out to clubs like that. And in the League Cups, we've gone out against teams that I don't think we should have been going out against. So I will say this, please take them seriously, because as much as I think Ten Hag is an absolute waste man from what I've seen, he's got 2 trophies in 2 years and we've got nothing. And Manchester United can laugh at us for that. And there's nothing we can do about it. Now, if the question is what position would you rather be in, Manchester United or Arsenal, us all day long. But literally, for the last 2 seasons, Manchester United have got a trophy and we haven't. So we need to take these more seriously, man. We really do. I don't understand why we've not taken them more seriously. And that's what I'm looking for this season. Make sure that we take every competition 100% seriously.
I agree with Elliot. Winning is a habit. I agree with everything that you've said. This was one of, and as we know, Super Kev did not have many pet peeves when it came to Mikel Arteta. As you all labeled him Esquire, Arteta's lawyer, and he loved that. He absolutely loved that. But if there was a pet peeve he had, was the poo-pooing of domestic trophies for any club at any level. You know, there's certain teams now, even I think it's become a culture thing in the Premier League, even in the Championship. Was it Leeds? There was a team. I get it. You're going for promotion into the Premier League, but you've got lower, lesser, teams that could give their fans a run in the cup and they're resting players. Pep Guardiola takes all of them very seriously. And what you're going to say to me now is, yeah, well, he's got the bench and he's got the team to do it. And there was someone in the chat saying we didn't have the squad to do it. Really? We still have good enough players to be able to blend with experienced players to give the effort in the cups. On paper, we do. What's being said in terms of the relevance and the importance of it, none of us will know. It was clear the last 2 seasons, our goal was to win the Premier League and the cups were secondary. But a winning culture, as you said, and I harped on about it all season, has to start somewhere. And do you know which one I want, Dan? I want the league. I want the League Cup. And I want the League Cup because the finals played in February. Then you've got March, April, May. You've got 3 months of knowing what it feels like to win and lift a trophy. When players get a taste of it, you want them to get a taste of it then, not at the end of May. We've won I would love another FA Cup, of course. United are catching us on that too now. But a League Cup win in February, Dan, to breed that vibe and that desire, I think would be massive for this team next season.
100%. And you know what's funny is the 2 most successful English football clubs in the last 2 decades are Chelsea and Manchester City, right? Unfortunately, in the last 2 decades, they've won the most League Cups. So winning breeds confidence. Now, a lot of people will say, well, of course they have, because they've got the biggest squad and all the money. And I hear that, trust me. But Arsenal have spent a lot of money. Trust me. Arsenal have spent a lot of money. Manchester United have won the League Cup before us. In fact, they've won more than 1 League Cup before us. The last time we won it, it was over 20 years ago, right? Over 20 years ago. In fact, it was longer than that. It was over 30, the League Cup, right? So when you've gone 20 years without a Premier League trophy, when you've gone over 30 without a European trophy or a League Cup, you have to go and take them seriously. Now, I know we're going to take the league and Champions League seriously, of course. The FA Cup, we've got 14 of them. But don't not take it seriously, because it's our cup. It's our trophy. It's the one we always brag about. So don't put it in the bin. As for the League Cup, people think it's a plastic energy drink cup now. Go and ask George Graham what he thinks of that cup. Go and ask Paul Merson and Tony Adams. Ask Kevin Campbell what he thought of that cup. They never thought it was an energy drink cup. They saw it as a trophy that wins and breeds confidence. So there's no way I'm going to be putting this one in the bin and going, yeah, it's only an energy drink cup. I'm going to be winning it, man. That's what I'm going to be demanding, that we take every competition seriously, because that's what Pep does. And this is what we're trying to be, right? We're trying to beat the best. And at the moment, the best is Man City.
Dan, we haven't won the League Cup since that team.
93, 94. Exactly.
Was it 93, 94 or 92, 93? Either way, it was 93.
93. Yeah, 93 it would have been, sorry, and then 94 we won the Conference Cup. Yeah.
It's I'm shit at maths. Everyone who listens to this show knows, but I believe that's 31 years. That's a
It is
long
31
time.
years.
Yeah.
31 years, 30 years without a European trophy, 31 years without a League Cup, and 20 years without a Premier League. That is too long. Too long for a club the size of Arsenal, man.
Yep. All right. That's your top 5. Let us know what yours are. What are your non-negotiables for this season? And don't be afraid. Let it out. Let it go. We're all sharing and caring here because we want this to be the season where we deliver some silverware. Of course, we'd love the Premier League. I'm not even going to talk about the Champions League this season until, it gets to a certain point where it might look realistic. But those domestic cups definitely are doable. All right, Dan, what is your first get off the Pottsy for the season? What you got for us?
Well, this one's been quite difficult for me because I've literally spoke about every single department of Arsenal today because the topic, of course, is non-negotiable. So to say I'm going to pick one person to get off the Pottsy is going to be saying. So I'm going to not cop out, but what I'm going to do is something a little bit different for this season, for this one episode and one episode only. I'm going to ask everybody to do me a favor. I'm going to ask everybody to get off the Pottsy and hit the like button and hit subscribe button on the Highbury Squad, right? Because we've taken a break and everybody knows why we've taken a break. But we need to get the likes up. We need to hit the subscribes. We need to get this channel back to where it should be because we're back now and we're getting back with a bang. So I need everybody to do that for me right now. I need everyone to hit the likes. I need everyone to hit subscribe. I need everybody who's watching this on catch up to do exactly the same thing so that we can get this channel back to where it belongs. Sophie, that is all from me.
I love that. Brilliant. You know what? I'm going to bring Vinny out. And at first I was like, man, because he would be saying right now, no more shows until we hit the like button and get the like up. And he'd be brocking it left, right, and center. Absolutely would be doing it. And he would love the fact that we're still bringing this stuff out. And you just took the words out of my mouth. And so did the Chief Like Officer, Tammy, as well. She's been saying it. So, thank you very much, Dan. It is a bit weird, isn't it? It's gone quiet. No one quite knows when you're broadcasting. Everything's a little bit all over the place. It was definitely timeout needed. There's no doubt about that. But, Kev's son, Tyrese, said to me, you got to go make the Highbury Squad bigger and better than ever. And, for me, that's kind of all I needed to hear. And, of course, you and Lee and Tom's been on this week. David Hillier's coming on. Just been hugely supportive. The squaddies have been amazing. I love them to bits. I really just do. We've got an amazing community that we've all built together. And you guys are really a big part of that. And I'm excited and I'm really looking forward to doing more of these with you this season. Tell everyone where they can find you, unless they've been living under a rock. You two are getting some shows back and ramped up and you're doing some transfer stuff. Let everyone know.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie. It's been a pleasure. Big up to all of you squaddies. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. If you do want to come follow myself, I'll be over at Football's 12th Man podcast. You know where that is, I am sure. If you haven't subscribed already, then please make sure you do. We're only about 50 or so away from 21K. So if we can get to that tonight, that would be amazing. So please make sure you come over and show the love over at Football's 12th Man. There'll be regular content, 2-3 shows a day at the moment. I'm plugging away. And obviously, I'll be over with League Judges on League Judges TV as well. So, big up. So thank you.
Absolutely love it. All right. He's done it all. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 with David Hillier, who's going to give us a peek behind the curtain on what it's like to be a player during pre-season. I can imagine that it's a lot different. Those guys used to turn up drunk before games, let alone what the heck they were getting up to in pre-season. But it's going to be really good fun for David to take us beyond the white lines. And we're excited about that too. Have a fantastic evening, squaddies, everyone in chat. A special shout out to Donna Potts, my favorite mom. Outside of my mum, of course. Always appreciate your love and your support. And squaddies, there's only one thing left to say. You know what it is. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. And at ease, squaddies, at ease. Thank you, Pottsy. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.